Yeah,
I
think the stealth was really blown in this one where, hey, if we're gonna do this and you want to do it right, just make the crouch button, right? Like me as the player, I should know I'm in stealth because too many times did I walk up and waste an opportunity because either all of a sudden his meter went full, like he saw me out of nowhere, or I'm like half running, half walking and can't find the perfect joystick combination, which I didn't like.
There were times where I would like fuck up the stealth and immediately run back to the flag.
Yeah.
And then try again because I'm like, no, I'm not fighting this guy when he has full health. He's too strong.
And finally, for Xbox game players, I didn't encounter some light bugs, right? Like 95% of my gameplay, the game ran very, very well. But there was some frame drops during certain boss fights. I did have some cutscene issues where the cutscene cut out completely. All of a sudden it staggered and freaked out and then caught itself back up to it. I also had one like just massive world pop in, but I think these are all very small bug critiques that will probably be fixed with the day one patch. But like the game ran very well.
Yeah, a couple of things on that I did find when I did that boss fight on yours. There were a couple moments of stuttering where I was like, I've never seen this. Because I'm playing on PlayStation 5, so maybe that's an optimization thing on Xbox specifically, which maybe they'll get an update. Hopefully that gets an update. But then, yeah, on mine, there was one moment where I saw the world populating in, and it's because I backtracked. And it was in a section where I would have no reason to backtrack, so they probably were just like, oh, don't worry about this. Nobody's going to experience this. I turned around to go back and get a flag, and I was like, what in the world is going on here? But yeah, that was only one moment during my playthrough.
All right, well, there's your consensus. Oh, yeah, go, Andy.
I was gonna say, yeah, I guess that, you know, when I say that I had a fairly bug-free experience, I guess I always think more of like the cataclysmic crash.
Yes,
you know, the ones where you're maybe hard stuck or you have to like reload a save. I never had issues like that, but sure, I had, you know, several moments of frame drops, world pop in, just pop in from assets and textures are, you know, could be optimized a little bit better just to kind of, you know, give you an overall better presentation. But it just so happens that in that toughest boss fight in the middle of the game, maybe once every 3 fights, when that enemy leaps up into the air to come down, and you're supposed to parry at the right moment, massive frame start.
yes, that was me,
And when when the fight is hard enough already, and you are missing a parry that you normally nail when there isn't a massive stutter, it is such a bummer to like see that dude jump up and then suddenly he's down on you and your health is all, and you're like, ah, fuck, man, I needed this health vial. And like that's where a lot of the frustrations come from. But yeah, when Blessy was talking about sort of the Sekiro nature of it all, because there are several enemies in Sekiro that you can hack and slash away, and you can definitely see their health coming down. That one sort of massive wall of a boss fight was hilarious because you feel like you're parrying for an hour straight, and you look up and you have a fourth of the bar down.
Like at some point, you just stop looking at the health bar because
the enemy is still. The enemy is still so healthy after you feel like you've been parrying for your fucking life for a goddamn hour.
It's like that one video is like, I'm fighting for my life.
I'm fighting for my life here. Yeah. And that's how it felt a lot in that boss fight. And it also is worth noting that make sure I get the name right. Masaki Yamagiwa used to work at FromSoft and worked on Bloodborne, was a producer, and I worked with Team Ninja. And I know it's definitely not a direct correlation whatsoever, but I just like to think that like the rest of the game was super easy, and then Yamagiwa got there, and that's when that boss fight came in, and suddenly the difficulty ramp just like shot up through the roof. Yeah,
That's up there, yeah?
When I say that I enjoyed the level design, I'm not saying that this game is anywhere near FromSoft or Breath of the Wild or anything like that, where you're like really intrigued by or your own interests. Like you're exploring to find it, right? I like going down the random corridors because I might find that rank 7 skill that I need for this next upgrade. And I enjoy that sort of stuff. This is like such a video game with its level design that I enjoy the moment of creating a new shortcut to then help that run back that might be a little bit easier to backtrack. There's always like looping around rooms, and suddenly it's like, oh, that's kind of neat. Never near the mind-blowing moments that I have. Still like that well enough. Still like more than Superlight. But the stealth is like so laughably video game that like for the audience, This is the type of stealth that you can just stand in 10 feet in front of somebody and they won't see you.
100%.
But like this isn't one of those where like if you're in their eyesight, unless it's a ranged enemy who shoots bow and arrows, they will notice
shoot
you
you
from far
automatically.
away.
They
They'll,
don't even
yeah,
care.
they'll
But
see
like-
you from a mile away for some reason.
But like if Snowbike Mike on the set right now is trying to stealth kill Blessing, he's just gotta like kind of skirt the
yeah,
side of
no,
it.
I can like if you're a video watcher, right? Like
You just gotta shuffle near the side. You cannot be
this is the time to
But like, no, you can get way closer than that. It's like, what's so shocking about it? Careful, Mike. Careful, he got you.
Wild.
Yeah, so it is so video gamified in that way. It's so silly in that way that like you could just be side to side of the team. They will not see you whatsoever. And I think that's kind of. It's enjoyable in some moments, but also it's like it kind of experience quite a bit. That like you see the game as being a video game as opposed to like I'm a character in the world trying to progress the story, blah blah blah. It's like no, at a certain point it kind of just becomes numbers to me.
Yeah, it almost wears if I stand one more step
No, TNT, what the fuck?
with the FromSoft comparison, I think it's more accessible in quite a few ways. Co-op super. The battle flag and opening up the menu to do online co-op and then sending him to join my game and then that was super easy to do and I'm usually not someone
Like a real video game should.
yeah, like a video game should, right? Like it's not in there's a glossary, you know, like the battle flag system, the morale rank system, and all that is it's not easily apparent what's going on there, but like going through and reading all that shit, they make it very straightforward of like, hey, this is what this is how this works. Like we're not trying to keep this information from you. Like all those explanations are available. Item descriptions are very straightforward. There are menus where like you can see all your stats pretty laid out if you go over to the stat screen. Like they'll tell you all the numbers that are associated with your character. There's an option to remove your headgear, so you can see your character's face and hair and stuff. And I did that immediately because I think the character creation system in this game is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's the same exact character creation system from every Koei Tecmo game. Like it's funny. Like Neo 2 has the exact same character creation creator. I'm pretty sure, and like it's even similar to Wild Hearts a bit, but. It's a good character creator.
Yeah.
So,
It's great.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
It's cool.
if
You can even put like a weird piece of paper in front of your face. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
Real freaky looking. Dope.
Yeah, if you heard me on the Wild Hearts review and Blessing was there as well, and we were just glowing about the character creation. It's pretty much the exact same thing here, where you have a lot of different hairstyles with different multiple hair color options. Certain hairstyles have different add-ons that you can have where you can change, like if I have a ponytail, a bun that's up, I can add bangs to the side or bangs in the middle or just a couple of little strands, and I can make those strands longer if I want. Or I can add like a little side piece. Like there's so many different options there that I think just makes it really, really fucking awesome. I appreciate that.
the photo mode is pretty good.
Oh, gotta have a photo mode.
Yeah, and like it works whether you're like offline or if you have like somebody invading or whatever, so you can't pause. Like you'll still see your character motion, but you can still tweak the different photo mode stuff. And like, you know, I took a couple of photos, and the game, it's unfortunate because the game isn't pretty enough for me to like really care that deeply about the photo mode, but it is very like it's very functional. And I took a couple of photos of like profile shots of my character, and I was like, oh yeah, this is pretty.
No
this is
such
pretty
thing
cool.
as
I love that they're
auto-aim,
putting an
ladies.
effort into
Yeah.
like giving you the little quality of life things to allow you to enjoy the game a bit easier.
Did you? Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, I'll tell you what the visuals remind me of, like just really, really good models and textures inside of an engine that can't quite show them. When it comes to the lighting models, they're like everything always just kind of looks flat. Like everything looks like it's missing a pass rest of the game could still match that visual aesthetic.
Yes, if we're talking about things that we really like, you know, it's interesting, you open up this hub world, right? And I want to give a shout out to the pandas. Of course, you're going to run into these cute little pandas that you'll find around the world. And it's funny, it's interesting, you meet them, and you drop an item in front of them, it will eat it, and then it will throw you out a new item and then fall asleep. And then you go back to the hub world, and you have a character who is, you know, collecting the pandas, protecting the pandas in your little world, and they start to drop one by one every time you collect them. Thought that was fun, a little
Wait,
dumb thing,
where?
you know?
Wait, where is this character?
He is on. So the hub world is very interesting design. I want to call it like we'll call it the city of clouds, like where you're up on the mountains, where you have like different paths to go to different levels of this, and he's going to be off and to the right, kind of main level height on that one. And so I really like that one. And he kind of tells you, hey, these pandas, like, they're technically demons, but like they're not really demons, so you protect them, and like you feed them weapons and or armor, they're gonna spit out some back. You know, this one here. So you got the little collection. It reminded me of Sonic Adventures with those
like
little
the child.
yeah,
child.
yeah, I have a little panda garden going on.
Wait, so you have a where the fuck is this? I need to find this.
Yeah, I like the panda garden.
Yeah, you'll find that panda garden.
You have to
It's
like
there.
turn around. It's like behind you.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part about that hub world is it's just not. That one's not pretty, not well designed in my personal opinion. Like, I do not like how I'm moving all around this weird platform.
It's like basically a maze. It's a hub world, and it's rough. Because I like the idea. I like that they have a hub world. Because I don't believe they didn't have one that's like this in Neo 2 when I played Neo 2. Like Neo 2, you would come back out to a map, you would have a mission select, and then I think there was like a practice area in Neo 2, and I think you can upgrade stuff there. But this is an actual hub level where you're going between these different segments of the level that talk to the person. Not back to a lot, but to get to each of the levels of the hub world, you have to walk on these branches that I felt like I was kind of having to tiptoe through because I was like, I don't want to fall off these things. There was one time I did fall off, and I was like, dang, it wasn't a big deal. I think that was weird, and then that was very weird. Who they were like, hey, to upgrade X, Y, Z did.
I think you're gonna have fun running around the hub world. If someone's like, I've lost my house keys in the hub world, go figure it out. And then someone's like, give me jerky. I thought that was funny. One guy's give me some golden lotus shells.
Oh, those are really cool. Oh, yeah, dude. Jerky to home girl. It's like, hey, I'm looking for a recipe. It's like, great, I have the jerky you're talking about. How do I give it to you? Like,
they're great questions. Maybe drop it on the floor. Yeah, maybe drop it on the floor.
I tried dropping it on the floor, and then I saw she's serving me to that.
Yeah.
And I had no luck. Nothing popped up or no. Could be bugged. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, just shout out to the combat. It feels so good, and it is so much fun. And I'm so pleased that when I turned it on, I was like, man, I'm digging this. And I really had a good time. There's just some main difficulty spikes, and that's something I want to talk with you guys about. I really want to, when we talk with this show, I want to know, where does this range? This is more of a restaurant. It's not the greatest. Go play it, you know what I mean? But man, oh man, the combat felt right to me, right? I really liked that Sekiro fast combat, but also, like I said, 80% of the time, unless you don't have to parry, really just bad at parrying the whole time. So I think they did a great job on the moment-to-moment gameplay.
I texted Bless at the beginning, and I was like, why would they put this boss fight at the beginning of the game? This is the hardest fucking boss I ever fought in my life. And I wasn't noticing the critical prompts.
Yes. Yeah.
I was wondering. I was like, I didn't find it that hard. Like, I find it did, but.
and I was like, oh, I didn't know to right trigger when you see the red, and I was like, okay, never mind. Good job.
What did you guys think of?
That's on me.
What weapons did you guys use, and what were your divine spears that you guys used?
I used the dual sword. Use that pretty much throughout. That's been for enemies that I can keep them. I'm not so I use those. I tried out like some of the spears because those align with how I expect my character. But the spears can be a bit dancey, which is cool because I think the choreography is also nice. There's so much.
Animations are awesome.
The animations are fantastic. You don't deer that like stomps down,
Yeah,
and
the
then it has
deer.
the spikes that come up, and those will stagger enemies as well. And then halfway through, I switched to kind of a firebird that'll like arise and like will throw fire spikes everywhere. And I think I prefer the deer, but I was just too lazy to change back. But yeah, and then you talked about the tool set in the game, and I think the tool set is one of the best aspects, because yeah, you have your combat art type abilities where you hold R1 if you're using the default control, or this is Xbox show, RB,
There you go.
and then you press X on the Xbox controller, or Y on the Xbox controller.
He's learning. He's learning, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so yeah, you have X and Y to like do the different like combat art abilities, and yeah, those are basically more melee type maneuvers, and they're very varied in terms of like the kinds of things. Like it might be like a cool twirling your sword kind of combo, or maybe you'll do one that's and I really enjoy those. I'm with you that I didn't use the magic ability, but I have one magic ability that made it so that when I activated it, and all this is using your, we didn't talk about like the gauge that you have on the bottom of your screen that I couldn't even tell you what the name of it is right now. The spirit gauge. We didn't talk about the spirit gauge, right? Like that's kind of your own measure of how much you're about to get staggered, because you've been like your stance, quote unquote, has been broken down so much, versus like how much spirit you gain because you're getting attacked, and then like spend that spirit that you gain on magic or on combat arts. Like, that's the thing that you're spending. But yeah, like I would use the one that is it's a health ability that makes it so that whenever you or your ally attack and they land an attack, you then get health back. That actually saved my ass quite a few times while fighting, where I don't want to spend much on my health damage. And so, I'm like forcing way down on health. Let me just use that ability. That's really the only magic that I use consistently.
I mean, I do want to give a shout out. I know, Andy, I don't know if you use a lot of magic, but there's a large magic tree here, right? Like, along with, of course, your level ups and your attributes, these magic tree is massive. There are different branches of magic that you can use. Each one has a large level up tree that looks like Borderlands and or Diablo inspired. Like, there is a lot going on the magic side. Andy, did you use any magic during yours?
Yeah, so there's 5 different areas to level up. The green is kind of like wood. They're all sort of tied to elements, right? And this game is very, very largely just tied to all of these elements. It's kind of what all these bosses and what a lot of the enemies sort of are obsessed with. The green is kind of, if you level that up, it's kind of like extra wood and earth power or whatever. But it also gives you a higher level up on your HP. The red is fire damage and stuff like that. It also helps out and boosts your attacks. And it'll also raise your HP a tiny bit. Not as much as the green one, but you'll get a tiny bit of an HP raise. The blue is like water damage and ice damage and stuff like that. And it also boosts your stealth abilities. And then the yellow is electricity, and it boosts your magic abilities. And then the brown one is sort of like that bronze brass looking one, and that one boosts your deflect, your equipment weight, and also your deflect. So the middle one that we're seeing right here on the video, anytime you deflect, you get more spirit sort of for every time you deflect. And all these do raise your health a little bit, but the green one raises your health the most. So the powers that I use are quite awesome. And near the end of it, I would, depending on the enemies, because it is very rock, paper, scissors, whatever you're fighting, the elements, the Pokemon stuff that we're all used to by this time. If you're fighting a fire enemy, you might want a water buff or whatever. And so there are different buffs and different abilities where you could put down like an AoE sort of thing around you that the enemies get poisoned by. Or you can cast your magic, you can cast your sword in like elemental damage, so like you can give it like a lightning buff or a fire buff or whatever, and it's like covered in fire now or covered in electricity. And I found it to be really cool when I'm fighting like stone enemies that taken a while to kind of like chip down their health, and then I start my lightning buff on my weapon, and then suddenly that, you see that health bar just dropped drastically. So all that stuff is pretty neat. The spells that I use the most was the one that Blessy was talking about, where you cast it, and any hit that you land, you get a tiny bit of HP back. And for those, I would always like using my I use dual halberds for my weapon number 1, and my second weapon is like a gigantic, like halberd, like more of a long range one. And that one's really dope because that one has all the. It's a 4-star weapon, meaning you have like little perks you can put onto it. You can interchange those perks however you want using sort of in-game currency. Not like 5 stuff. And with that large weapon, it was a lot of fire gun, which I love. Enemies catch on fire, and then my other weapon had deals more damage to enemies with a burst. So when I was doing that, when the enemy was on fire, those are a lot of cool, fun ways to kind of mess around and do your own fun. But yeah, the animations are fantastic. All the martial arts look great. When you start chaining all of them together, there were a couple enemies that like I wasn't too sad when my teammates would die because sometimes they pull. You know the enemy attack patterns. I don't want you to like pull the aggro and then suddenly it gets aggroed back on me and I'm not getting used to it. But yeah, that I used that health spell, and then I used the poison ground one, and then the monster that I used, or the helping beast, the elemental beast that I used was the ground one, where these ground spikes would pop up. I found that one to be awesome. And then I used the water sort of ice one whenever I would fight.
I was using dual blades like Blessing. I had the 2 swords, and I used the deer as well. I really liked the deer because it staggered that piece enough to fill up that berry bar that we were trying to go down with, right? So I found that to be super helpful. And yeah, I had a blast with it. I loved all of the weapons. I enjoyed the big hammer as well. Maybe like I thought it was so cool, like grab a different unique weapon, like you said, Bless, like new animations, there's new techniques to be found and adding that. And then yeah, Andy talking about like changing up the weapon attributes and like adding new passives onto that. There's a lot that goes into this game that's just like, man, you can get lost in the systems and have some fun.
A lot of it is so good, and I think all it needs is maybe a bit more refinement. I really like the embedding system. I really like being able to go into the passes and be like, oh no, remove this one. Oh, let's add this different one. I just think for me, a lot of those didn't feel as like impactful, right? Like, well, I'll do that and then immediately forget that I did it. You have so many stats across all your gear and weapons and other everything. There's so much going on, and I think if they honed it in a little bit and maybe made some of those stats a bit more meaningful, stand out, and made it so that you can actually really consider your playstyle based on some of these stats, because that's what they're going for. I think that's what they want you to do. But I don't know if the end result actually ended up with that. I think that's my thing that brings it back a little bit.
Okay.
Make sure you're also salvaging weapons instead of just selling weapons for anybody who's gonna play this, because the longest time I was only selling shit, and then I went to go try to change one of those perks in that higher upgraded weapon. God damn it, you're charging me 30 of these things, whatever this little fucking thing is, and I only have 2? Like, how are you gonna charge me 30? And then I realized, oh, each time you salvage a weapon, you get like 10 of those things, and you're salvaging fucking 30 every level, because you find so much shit in this game. It's like, one also thing to keep in mind is that you can multiple select and multiple salvage, and then multiple sell. So you're not just, you don't have to go one by one. You can like select the whole fucking thing and then just bam, sell them all, and they're all coming.
I will also say you find a lot of copper as you're playing, and copper is the currency that you collect when you sell stuff as well. I would say salvage over sell until you need to sell, and then like sell shit then, because that helps me with upgrading too, where hey, I have this +4 level sword that I want to level up to level 5. Oh, I can salvage another +4 thing to then get the steel from that weapon to then use to upgrade that weapon. I think salvaging is more the way to go. I kind of want to go back to your transmog. Cool transmog as well. Yeah, like you can turn weapons into other weapons.
Pretty easy.
Similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go back to the question about like recommending this game.
Oh yeah, let's do that right now, because as we start to ramp down this episode, that's where I kind of want to end this, is where we're at. Of course, we all gave it a 3 out of 5, a good on the kind of funny scale, but we're leaning towards that 4, so I think we're going to find a lot of fun in this game. I think these guys will agree with that, especially on Game Pass for all you Xbox fans out there. If you're looking for a Souls-like game, this is going to be a good one, and that's where I want to kind of lead and end this conversation. Now,
Got sniper ammo here.
it's a very similar Souls-like game, right? Where does that end up on the Pantheon for you two Souls-like players? Like, you guys have played them all. Where does this kind of drop on the scale here for you guys?
Got an extended sniper
Yeah,
back
like
here.
3 is such an interesting score because I think there are. What's this you got, Andy? Official. Oh, the Nitro rifle rating for is that for Soul
Yeah.
Sight?
No, this is just obviously on the kind of funny scale, you know, I have my own, much like Blessing has his Blessing calendar, I have the official Nitro Rifle rating scale. And so like, so 1 out of 10 is for real, just give up. LOL, not just kidding, but like for real, something went wrong and it may not be your fault, but it needs to be addressed. Like, I don't want to be too hard on the developers,
Okay,
but that's
okay.
my 1 out of 10 score. I would give this game, which 5 being average, 5 out of 10, you know, 5 is an average mediocre game. I would give this game a 6 out of 10, a fine game. Maybe, you know, I'm being nice today, you know? It's March 1st. I'm gonna give this game a 6. I'm gonna give this game a 6 out of 5, or 6.5 out of 10.
Okay.
You know, that scale, I 7, and that's actually that actually brings me to where I'll drive to, which, you know, 3 out of 5, interesting score because I think there are 2 3s, right? There's it's a 3, it's okay, or it's a 3, it's good, right? Like, I feel like 3 kind of encompasses both those. And this is very much on the good side.
It's an all cap
of-
good for me.
All caps good. This is one that I'll say, hey, like, if you're looking for, if you play Sekiro, if you're like me, and like Sekiro's one of your favorite games, and you're like, yo, I want more of this, I can't recommend Woe long enough. Is it as good as that? No, it's not. But for me, it got the job done of really like helping, I guess, like satiate that thirst, right?
Yeah.
I'm playing through that game. I'm playing through this game. I'm like, yo, this is really fun. I'm having a blast with it, right? Like, would I like the story to be better? Would I like the environment to look better? Would I like, you know, the soundtrack to stick more with me? Of course. But at the end of the day, the game is so fun that I would recommend it, especially on Game Pass. Like, I think that is the steal for this game. In terms of where I rank it on the Pantheon, right? Like, I wouldn't really put it up against any of the From Software games that I've played. And in fact, from talking to folks who have played Neo, and then also some reviewers that have played the game, like the few folks I've talked to have said that, like, no, I like Neo. And so it seems like maybe this doesn't really live up to that standard in terms of the Team Ninja stuff, but I just had a lot of fun with the deflecting system and getting in there and going through motions of taking out the enemies, and even the more tougher boss fights. At the end of the day, I had a pretty good time playing this game. And so I would say I would for sure recommend this to anybody that is into this genre of game. I would for sure say it's for fans of the genre. Like, check this one out.
I like that. I'm more on the side of, if you look at Dark Souls and say that's a little too slow, a little too methodical for me, and you look at Sekiro and go, ooh, I like that speed, but I'm bad at parrying. I think this meets right in the middle where, like I said, throughout this review, I said 80% of the time, when you're just fighting normal enemies running around the world, you're going to really enjoy that speed. You're going to enjoy that moment-to-moment gameplay. You don't have to heavily rely on the parry, right? But when you get to these bosses, it is going to be a parry fest. You have to parry each and every boss, because if you don't, you're going to dodge and try to survive your lifetime, slowly ticking away out their health, right? So for me, it's like, this is an upper echelon good on the Souls catalog, right, where you can get lost in X amount or whatever games. But I think it's very good up there, and I think just the fast game really changes it up and makes it
I'm kind of with Blessing where, like, I think this game would have been better served as a Sifu type game. Like, make it a roguelike that you can finish really quickly and run through and try to get better each run. I think this game would have been better served by that, because when we talk about what I love about Souls games, it's not just the combat, but it is the exploration and having these surprises come at you and be like, what the fuck is going on? I can't believe that this giant ass monster just came out of this. Oh my god, I got tricked by this and that. This game doesn't feel like that at all. This game feels like you are playing a video game level as opposed to exploring a world and trying to like get trying to achieve a certain goal, right? This game is very much just like get to the end. It's a video game. You're getting the levels. You're not going to be really surprised by a whole lot here. And like, yeah, I think this game would have been amazing if it was a much shorter of an experience and maybe a bit more, a bit shorter, as well as like maybe yeah, make it a different game. Yeah,
I think the bosses, like when we look at all the bosses, if we were to bring up all the bosses, like none of them are going to be iconic and memorable. Sure, that one boss, because he was so difficult, is going to be memorable, right? But like none of these are like a Dark Souls boss. We're like, yo, did you fight that chariot horse that was on fire? That was nuts, bro.
Yeah, you're not going to miss stuff here.
Yeah,
it's like the thing that kind of sucks. Like I wish those stuff in this game that I wish the worlds were larger and not just like these smaller, because for the lack of a better comparison,
There's one down low.
feel like a PS2 and PS3 kind of era video game. Like, everything that's there, you're gonna see. It's really hard to miss something. And if you do miss something, it's sure as hell not gonna be a big boss fight. It's gonna be some like item you just didn't pick up or whatever, or like an ability you may have stumbled across and just like ran by and missed it. But like, you're not playing this game to explore and roleplay. You're playing this game to play a video game and try to like get it. I think this is why this would have been a better like roguelike type of experience if you were chasing a score or chasing like an S rank, an X rank, like that. I think this that they kind of gave it that sort of treatment as opposed to like
when you look,
a Neo type from Sonic.
I think the idea that this game is actually confusing, and I think in the art I think that's cool. You know, because like when you think of RPGs, you're thinking of all story, world, exploration, leveling up, respecting my character, and all that.
Choosing paths, like making decisions.
Yeah, I think the RPG half needed quite a bit of work, but the action half, I think they got it. That's the thing. Fighting in this game is fun. I think that's where Andy's coming from when it comes to like, yeah, this would have been a more fun roguelite, right? Get rid of the story elements, get rid of like the exploration and all that stuff. Just make it about fighting and make it about like getting and I could see how that would hit a bit harder than like them actually like, man, again,
you and I have done together in 2023.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of cool. I think we're actually, that might be one more than we did in 2022.
Coworkers because I don't interact with them at all.
It's fun because it's like everything's new between the two of us. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty fun. Of course, over there is joining. You've been on this
Yeah, a few times.
second time maybe.
Third time,
Roger
fourth.
Picorni.